All right. I'm Erik Kain.
I'm Paul Tassi.
And I'm Dave Thier.
And we are back with another episode of, I guess, the 3-player podcast this week. Yeah, we're gonna talk about some video games. We're gonna talk about the kind of big headline of the week. I think is Visceral Games getting shut down. What's your guys' take on this?
It's definitely a bummer. There's a lot of takes going on, a lot of takes about this, and I feel my ultimate feeling is that we don't exactly know what the final deal is, and so I'm hesitant to be like, this is definitely about like EA wanted to make a game with loot boxes that's like Destiny, and not like there were maybe serious internal problems with this project also. I think it's probably
I think it can easily be both, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see it being a mess, and their decision, though, to rather than fix the mess is to, it sounds like, start kind of fresh with a completely different style of game. That's what makes me wonder, like, you know, if this had been already a multiplayer game as service type game, would they have started over, you know? Mm-hmm. Even if it was a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to look at it in context of, you know, of what else we know, which is that we're coming off of a year in which traditional single-player linear games have done really badly. And
I mean, some have done really badly. Some have been amazing.
Some have been amazing, but overall, I don't think it's been a great picture, especially if you're not a platform holder, you know, like a Sony or a Nintendo.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know that EA has been interested in this kind of more and more over the years, and so I think it's easy to say that this is definitely something that informed the decision, even if we don't know anything about the struggle that the studio made.
I have a few theories. I think first of all that EA got really spooked by Mass Effect Andromeda, because that was their big kind of single player venture that just it didn't turn out as well as they wanted. Like it was better than most people said it was, but it still wasn't great. It didn't sell super great, and then
not enough loot boxes.
Yeah,
you know.
I just did not like that game.
I liked it more than most, but I get why the reaction to it and the ultimate kind of like lack of success and kind of abandonment of the whole Mass Effect franchise when that was so, you know, kind of a key component of EA before would lead to something like this happening where like, well, if we can't even do it with, you know, Mass Effect, like how are we going to get some new Star Wars game off the ground from scratch that's not like an established series? I also think that I mean, I don't know how much you've read about like the history of like the development of the Uncharted games, but like those have been kind of like shit shows in their own way. And if EA wasn't like prepared for that kind of thing to happen, like whereas Sony's been kind of used to this by now, like they may have just been more eager to just cancel the whole thing than like try and revamp it and come out with the same kind of end products like they did with Uncharted 4 after Amy Hennig left.
Well, and also we have to remember, you know, Sony's motivations for making the Uncharted series are really different than EA's motivations for making a similar series. You know, the Uncharted series. You know, I think at this point, if it was released by a third-party publisher, it would still make a profit. But Sony also treats the Uncharted series as sort of its marquee, you know, crown jewel exclusive that's supposed to show off the new hardware, that's supposed to really show us what Sony's all about, and so it's just a different calculus for them, you know. And I think that's why you see these games from Sony. You know, we also saw Horizon Zero Dawn, and you see these games from Nintendo too. At least, so you know, we've seen Breath of the Wild. We're gonna see Super Mario Odyssey, but it's just hard out there when you're really staring down that bottom line, and that bottom line does not include hardware sales.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that does make sense. I think especially for large budget AAA single player games, it's going to be very difficult. I think there's still a market for single player games, but I just don't think that they can be so expensive and so huge. I don't think they really need to be either. I mean, you know, like a good single player game doesn't have to be a $100 million game. You know, it doesn't have to be 60 hours long either. It can be a 12-hour, you know, contained game that isn't just chock full of content. We were like with Shadow of War. I mean, that's a single player game, and it's I think it's doing okay. It's just there's so much stuff in that damn game. Like games don't need to be that expansive and expensive to make.
Yeah, I mean, this year we just saw both Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, and then right after that we got Uncharted 4. What was it called? I'm totally blanking. The Chloe and
that was a
Nadine
good.
adventure.
I liked that a lot.
Yeah, and I love both of those.
Lost
games.
Legacy, that's what it is.
Lost Legacy.
Lost Legacy.
No wonder I didn't remember. It doesn't
Took me a while.
You know, I didn't really play much of Hellblade. I just kind of dropped that one. There was just too much coming out at that time. But I really did love Lost Legacy. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that really shows us, single player, it's narrative games can be just nice little gaming units. Neither of those. Uncharted didn't have to build a new engine for that. They use a lot of the same tropical assets. Obviously they use the same character assets. All they were able to I think probably save money in a lot of ways. And Hellblade made extensive use of Unreal, and neither game was very long at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and it made for great experiences.
And you can do single player like something like Bloodborne, where you've got it's a pretty big game, but it's not filled with voice acting and lengthy cinematics and sirens in the background, things like that.
That's me living next to my fire station. Sorry, which is not an exaggeration. I literally live next to a fire station, so
you'll always be safe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
so
also, if you look at Bloodborne, the environments are they're very small for the amount of time you spend in them.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard, you move through it slower, and so it seems bigger when they actually might not have built as much stuff.
To me, this seems like a Project Titan moment to a certain extent, where Blizzard was trying to make an MMO because thought they were going to replace World of Warcraft. But by the time they had sunk all the money and time into it, they realized that maybe A, the game wasn't very good, which was one part of it, but B, that time had kind of passed. And I feel like this game has been in development for at least 3 or 4 years now. And it was trying to maybe pursue kind of the Uncharted Last of Us style. But then by the time we're here now, it's a lot riskier to do something like that. And with all the recent failures, a combination of that, and if the project itself is just not going that well, I guess that's how we get here. And it sucks they had to close the whole studio. That seems pretty like a drastic measure, but I guess I understand how we got here. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a tricky one because EA has so many studios, and it's it comes down to sort of a resource question and how they can best apply those resources, and hopefully most of those people just get moved to other studios. But
it does not dissuade the EA legend of just murdering developers left and right. And I like Visceral. I like Dead Space games. They weren't maybe the most beloved developer, but they were certainly very good. And obviously, you never want anyone to lose their jobs, but this is a kind of a pattern with EA.
Speaking of Lost Legacy, though, I just wanted to throw this out there. I would be super happy with a Star Wars game that was a single player, story driven, 8-hour game.
Yeah,
for $40.
I think that would be
totally
great.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would sell like crazy. I think people just love Star Wars for one thing, and I think they would buy it. They would buy its sequel. It could be. It doesn't have to be a huge game. It doesn't have to be a really complex game. It could just be a very contained single player game, and I think it would do really well. And I think a lot of people would like that. I think there's a market for both that kind of game and the Destiny model, the game as service, whatever. I think there's markets for both those things.
We live in a world with Unreal, and we live in a world with Unity, and you can do a lot and save a lot of time, save a lot of money by leaning on that kind of things. You might not be able to make something that looks like Uncharted,
but you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to do that every time. There has to come a point where we pull back on this, and I think it's going to have to be the publishers and the developers figuring out ways to pull us back a little bit. Xbox One X is not going to help.
No, God, no, it's not going to help. It's getting crazy, and it's did you see that article about the Dead Space developer who said that Dead Space 2, I think it was, sold 4 million copies and they still didn't make any money off of it?
I did.
Yeah. That's like what they were saying about Tomb Raider back in the day. Was you could sell 3-4 million copies and it's still not enough.
Yeah.
And
that is one other thing though, is that they didn't make a profit. That sucks. They did recoup some costs and that kind of thing, but single player games of that sort usually do still sell. You can still get people on board. You can even move them to the bargain bin if you have to. But that is the big risk with games of service is there's not as room for as many of them out there. Once someone's got Overwatch, they don't need another Overwatch for a number of years. And when they bomb hard. You Lawbreakers.
Oh my God,
keep
that
getting
game.
Lawbreakers emails in my inbox, and I'm like just cringing. I'm like, oh, I feel so bad with how poor
it just hurts. And it's just
God, it does.
if you don't grab momentum, there are Rainbow Six Siege and other games are sort of counterpoints to this where they did better later. But you can end up with a crushing failure with some of those games in a way that a big budget single player game has some insulation against.
Right, because if there's a campaign to draw people in, they're at least that part of the market will get in there and play it. The thing about Lawbreakers is it's only multiplayer. It really should have been free to play. That was a huge error. But it's got is the multiplayer. So if that starts to fail, then it becomes harder and harder to stay invested in a game because there's no community, there's no one to play with.
18 live players on Steam or something at a time.
Yeah, you have to wait
I was
until
actually
the game is done to get to the next one.
I was actually kind of excited about Lawbreakers conceptually because it was $30 and it was releasing in August, which are two things that I've been really hoping the games do more of. Was play around with the price model so everything's not either $60 or free, and also not just releasing in the crazy crowded fall season. Yet it failed spectacularly, so maybe that was a bad idea. But that was at least one of the only games that was really kind of playing around with pricing in a way that I thought was interesting. Whereas
well, did you guys play the game? I mean,
yes, a little, and then
it just wasn't all that good.
Yeah, and it's like a rough old school arena shooter, and I don't have time to put in the effort to learn how to be bad at that game.
Well, the whole pitch was that it was just ultra competitive, and it was super designed for high skill cap stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't have time for that, and I definitely don't have time for that if this game is going to be dead in 3 weeks. So
well, and also even when I'm getting blasted and when Overwatch isn't fun, that game has serious style, and that was a huge problem for Lawbreakers. There's nothing to hold on to from an aesthetic point of view.
The aesthetics were so bad.
just nothing.
Extremely.
Well, the aesthetics, the things people said, the little voice lines, like in Overwatch, they're kind of funny. It's not just visually captivating; it's also a really fun game to listen to. Whereas Lawbreakers was just cringe the whole time. Worse in the alpha beta, but. Not. It was trying to be edgy.
Like a '90s style arena shooter.
Lawbreakers is so bad it made us lose focus from single player games to randomly talk about how bad Lawbreakers is.
That is true.
There's so much to say.
About. Well, that's what the new Star Wars from EA is going to be. It's going to be just basically Lawbreakers, but with Star Wars skins.
I mean, whatever they're quote unquote pivoting to, I have to imagine that's at least 2 years away.
That would do fine.
Yeah, if
because that game's biggest problem was aesthetics, and so put some Star Wars skins on it.
Shit, there we go. We can fix Lawbreakers.
What about Evolve with Star Wars? You can fight a Rancor, you can fight an AT-AT, all kinds of stuff.
Just stalking an AT-AT.
Yeah, there it is.
Hiding in the bushes.
That'd be awesome. I want to play the AT-AT that hides in the bushes. Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on. Bethesda. I wanted to touch on this whole review copy thing because this was a weird week for me. Suddenly on Twitter, I'm getting yelled at by Bethesda PR for what I wrote, which was an article about the review copy policy. And PR guy from Bethesda says that my article was demonstrably false, and that I should have done my research, which apparently includes checking Twitter to see if other people got their review codes early for The Evil Within 2. Did you guys get a code for The Evil Within 2?
No, I didn't ask for one.
I mean, I didn't.
I didn't ask for one. I got one. I got it the day before, just like the last few Bethesda games.
But then they were saying other people got it 4 days before or something.
Yeah, Monday.
But the weirdest part of that was that the guy was trying to act like there was never this whole big thing about how they pretty much came out and said they're like, we want everyone to experience the game at the same time. That's what we're doing with reviews going forward. Did they not literally just say that out loud? I don't understand.
That was their problem was that they said that.
Yeah.
I understand wanting to change your policy. I understand wanting to play with different concepts. But drawing that line in the sand so publicly, it was just hard for me to see what you gain from that, you know.
Nothing. You gain
Well,
nothing.
now they're trying to act like it didn't
asked,
happen. Like, well, we never announced an official policy. It's like you pretty much spelled out what it
No, they
was,
did.
and now your new policy
They
is to
literally
like
did.
randomly give some codes on some games to some outlets early, and then like everyone else is just left to kind of guess. And like I don't
Which
think
I think that's
Wolfenstein codes have gone
fine,
out.
you know?
Or I don't know if they are going out. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to get one anymore.
Yeah, October 28th is a little rough overall.
Yeah.
27th.
27th, that's right.
This is an aside.
yeah.
Have you guys gotten either Mario or Assassin's Creed codes yet?
No.
No.
Okay, I just emailed my Assassin's Creed person today, but they were like really emphatic I was going to get one, but I have not heard, and it's like a week away now. So
Yeah,
I'm
really.
And it's a big
mildly
game.
I'm like, what am I gonna? I don't want to do another 13-hour a day Mass Effect Andromeda session where I literally injured my hand because I was playing too many video games.
I just really want to get one of the two of those early enough because I can play one of them after release, but to have both of them after release, that's rough.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I mean, it's gonna be hard no matter what. Like, I'm
nobody
excited
moved.
to play all of those.
Why didn't anyone move?
Stubbornness.
I guess that's just gonna hurt everybody.
Especially because November isn't too crowded. I mean, we have obviously Call of Duty and Star Wars Battlefront.
November, December would have been fine.
Yeah, I feel like people don't take advantage of the December release date. I remember Far Cry 3 did really well with it, and I think it'd be perfect for a game like Wolfenstein. I think it'd do very well in December.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or even, Assassin's Creed. Like, well, November for Assassin's Creed would make sense. I just feel like maybe the week after Call of Duty or something like that.
I feel like no one wants to go against Call of Duty and Battlefront. I think that's why everyone's steering clear of November. But
yeah.
Did Red Dead ever have an actual release date?
It had fall. That was it.
It had fall. Yeah. Because if there was rumors surrounding that, and I was Assassin's Creed personified.
Oh, yeah.
No one knew. No one believed that was going to happen.
Okay.
Let's
but
be
you have
real.
to like kind of think maybe they're gonna not delay it. It's always possible.
Yeah, there was like no chance that wasn't getting delayed. But
I mean, I guess for those three games though, Assassin's Creed, Mario, and Wolfenstein, they're all very different games. At least it's not like Titanfall releasing right next to Battlefield and Call of Duty. That was
Wolfenstein, Assassin's
was a
Creed.
heartbreaker.
I mean, they're different games, but they're both single player. They're both like high-end AAA console games.
Yeah,
so-
and I would venture to guess to say that they have a similar fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar, but I mean, like Assassin's Creed is super casual. Anyone can play that game and do well. Whereas a first-person shooter like Wolfenstein is definitely a little more hardcore. So there's going to be overlap, but there's also a different audience.
I think Bethesda is going to be the odd man out because they have to be a little concerned because both Prey and Evil Within are like underperforming.
Yeah, but Evil Within, they sent out codes, and if I had done my research,
sent out codes for you.
Dishonored 2. Yeah. Dishonored 2 is not a very good game.
Though. Oh wait,
that's
did I?
I wasn't a huge.
Yeah,
fan
no,
of
I meant to say Dishonored 2 also. Yeah, that was another sequel where it just even if it was doing the same things as the original, it just didn't work.
For me, I wish it did the same things a little more.
More, yeah, totally.
I just got hung up on some levels that felt like they wanted to show off some fun design things and not just let me play around.
The clockwork level.
Mm-hmm.
Clockwork level, and then right after that, the time travel level.
Yeah.
And especially because it's a game without a lot of missions, and both those missions came right after each other. I was just so tired. I never really got back into it after that.
I just want to sneak around on a roof. I don't want to like jump through space time and get attacked by one-hit kill robots.
Yeah, all I want to do is like be tempted to knife a guy in the neck and then like not do it because I feel bad. That's all I want to do.
Like I always complain about too many open world games, but I think it'd be really cool to have a Dishonored release that was just like a big open city, and instead of confined missions, it like really let you use those powers to just go crazy.
And
I think that would
like
be really cool.
targets in the city, and you had to.
Maybe
like
clues
the
you
old-
had to
like the old
find.
Hitman,
Yeah, I think it could be really cool. I think they're missing out on something very neat there, which is a shame. But yeah, I also think they need to lean less heavily on story because there's the Dishonored games. Both games had bad stories, but the second one was really bad.
Yeah, at least the first one, it had what you expect. You got a bad thing, You have a morally ambiguous friend. You have a twist. Fine. You know, I have no problem with formulaic stories. I like those. It's when that they don't. It's stories that don't make any sense that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything that happened in Dishonored 2. Like nothing.
It was just terrible. It was just
I remember there was
really
the woman with one eye, and like I literally cannot remember a single thing that happened in that game, like plot wise.
Also, I got a game breaking bug on the second to last mission, and because it didn't have any mission selects, I would have needed to restart the game essentially.
Oh my god,
weird. I remember when people were getting game breaking bugs on Prey and they couldn't finish. So
yeah,
it seems to be a problem.
I don't think I finished it. No, I didn't finish it, but I liked it.
Prey? No, I didn't.
I liked Prey a lot. That was like really good.
Yeah,
I
liked it too. I just didn't have time.
Very pumped about that. Yeah, that was pretty long, but I felt like that was worth it, and that game stuck with me a lot more than Dishonored 2 did.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things about that game was it was one of the things where sort of once I had achieved some of my character development goals, sort of figured some stuff out, like I just kind of lost momentum at a certain point, you know.
You know what I didn't like about Prey was the bad guys. I didn't like fighting the bad guys.
I thought the mimics were awesome. I was not
they're cool
as
concept.
Big a fan of the other ones.
I
don't
better because once you get more skills, they're less annoying to fight. If you're just like trying to run at them with a wrench or like a shotgun, they're kind of awful. But if you're like, I'm gonna set up this turret trap and like run them into it, and they're gonna get shredded, and like it can get pretty cool, even if the bad guys themselves are kind of lame.
So yeah, Bethesda. We should. I think that people just need to keep on hammering home the point that
the whole interaction was like just pretty inappropriate. Like I've never had any PR person act like that. Like, and I don't even. I guess they're like assistant PR, but I don't want to like witch on anyone. But that was very strange, and like that didn't seem.
I think I missed this interaction, but as a general rule of thumb, starting fights on the internet is just not a good idea. You know, I realize that someone could argue that that you started the fight, but still, it's just Twitter's a bad place.
It is a bad place.
It's just a bad place to be.
Why do we go there? It's like it's like Camelot, you know.
Is Camelot a bad place? I'm missing.
It's a silly place. Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail.
Yeah, no, I've got that.
They're going to Camelot, and then they show the song with everyone dancing, and then they say, "Oh, let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place."
I suppose I just missed the leap, but that's all right. I can appreciate the fact that I'm now thinking about Monty Python and the Holy Grail in my day is a slight bit better.
Okay. Got that into an actual podcast for once.
I know I've been waiting to use that for a while. The world needs more Monty Python for sure, and less Twitter.
Though Monty Python caused some glitches in Destiny recently.
Oh yeah.
They put the silly walk in there, and you could use the silly walk to clip through walls.
Of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think they hotfixed that, but yeah, that was problematic to say the least.
I think they did, yeah.
I haven't actually been on Destiny for weeks.
Even I gave up now. Like I'm like at 302 or 303 on most of my characters, and like there's just like I know I can do the milestones and I know I can get an upgrade, but I just don't have the desire to.
I just want to finish the raid. I don't want to do prestige mode. That seems annoying, but
it just seems there's no rewards for it. There's like barely any reason to do it.
Yeah,
and I haven't done the raid yet. Like I've been meaning to do the raid and like schedule off a block of time, but
the raid is very frustrating. I was really happy towards the end of Destiny 1 where they seemed to be pulling back on some of these hyper mechanical raids, and they're really whole hog on it this time. I feel like you should never feel like you're just completing a set of instructions. You know, there's that old, I love that old Sid Meier quote, "A game is a series of interesting decisions." And too often in the deeply mechanical raid, you're not making any decisions, you're just carrying out instructions, and it just makes it a little less interesting.
Yeah. I haven't played the raid. Who has the time for that? I don't know.
6 hours if you don't know what you're doing, probably more.
Yeah,
I did a blind act. This is the first time I tried one blind, and it was pretty fun until it stopped being fun.
Are you guys going to play South Park?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've been playing that and Shadow of War, and I started yesterday this game Elix. Have you heard of this game?
I've heard of it.
Oh,
I
it's
don't know
terrible.
much about it, though.
It's
Okay,
terrible.
great.
Oh my god! I'm gonna post a video today of some gameplay. You should just like watch a little bit of that video because it's so bad. The voice acting is so bad. The dialogue. Oh my god! It's actually kind of funny to play just because it's so
You
bad.
don't play too many like ultra terrible games these days because like if things are
Right.
bad, they're like mediocre, but nothing is like truly the worst for the
I
most
don't
part.
know. Have you looked at Steam?
Well,
recently?
no,
Oh.
yeah. If you just start sifting through Steam, then yes.
Yeah.
But
I almost never go to the store on Steam anymore. Like, I go to my library, I put in codes, but the store is just, it's like the Android store.
Oh, actually,
it's
I just went to
Google.
the Steam store, and here's Elix right here. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it getting? User score.
Let's see. It refers
Or
to
is-
itself as handcrafted, which I wonder what that means.
weird qualifier, but okay.
Mostly positive.
Really, mostly
yeah.
positive. Oh, I
I
just
don't
need to
trust
stop.
Steam.
I,
75% of the 941. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Well, it is handcrafted, so that's nice.
yeah, there you go.
Like hand drawn.
Like a good
I don't know what
craft
that means.
beer.
Okay.
No, it's not
I think
hand-drawn.
it's just an adjective they put into the
Sure.
description.
We'll go with, yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I think maybe there's like a fan base from their previous games or something. I don't know. I can't imagine giving it a mostly positive score. It's just really bad. But maybe it gets better. I don't know.
I will say the last thing I bought in the Steam store was Divinity Original Sin 2, which is not terrible.
No,
I heard
that's
that was
good.
really good. It just seems very
it's
long.
great. It is very long, and it's just really worms its way into your brain, so that it can be difficult to do other things while you're doing it. You can just sort of. I feel like if I went into my game right now, I'd spend half an hour on inventory management, getting all 4 of my guys set up.
Good.
Before I would actually start playing, and then I would get some loot and have to kind of do it again.
Yeah, I
but,
just
it's
started
so
that
good.
one. And
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the first game, so I'm really excited to get into the second one. There's just too many damn games. Like, I want to play them all, but I don't have the time, This is the problem.
That
This
is the problem.
And then there's like, other things you have to do with your life other than play games, So
I have heard tell of that.
yeah, like, read and watch movies and spend time with people. I also got the
Make sure your daughter has
SNES.
food.
Oh, well, yeah, that occasionally.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the Super Nintendo Mini?
Yes,
I
I'm
think
supposed to send. I have a review one, and I'm supposed to send it back to Nintendo, which I keep meaning to do.
Oh my God, no! You should just pay them for it.
I'm not allowed. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to send it back. For
You're not allowed.
specific instructions, but I gotta pack it up. But yeah, I played it for a while and I reviewed it and stuff. But I'm also not the
It's
biggest.
like the price of a game. That's
I'm not
weird.
the biggest nostalgia gamer person, so my first system was also an N64, not like an NES or SNES. So
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose it over the N64 Classic.
yeah, that'll be the big
Yeah,
one.
It's gonna need 4 controller ports though. It doesn't count.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't have 4 controller
Oh,
ports.
totally. Yeah,
And
Smash.
of course, you're missing out on the rare games, which is a real loss for Nintendo for the N64. But there's still some
Yeah.
good stuff on it.
oh yeah, that's bad. That's a ton of good games.
Yeah, though I wonder what those deals look like. Because Nintendo obviously still owns the rights to Donkey Kong and stuff. So I don't think we'll see Banjo-Kazooie or GoldenEye. But we might see like Diddy Kong Racing.
And
or
N64 without
yeah.
GoldenEye is like that's
Yeah,
that's
that's-
rough.
You never
That's
know.
the
They might
point.
make a deal.
I'll tell you what for one thing, I haven't played Pokemon Snap in a very long time, and I would desperately like to do so. So that would be worth the price
Pokemon
of
Snap's
admission.
such an interesting game. I remember at the time when that came out, I hated it because I had been waiting. It was like 98 or whatever it was, and like I had been waiting for Nintendo to come out with a console Pokemon game ever since I got Red and Blue. Still waiting, by the way. And
Seriously.
I was so excited there was finally one, and I'm like, what is this? You take pictures of Pokemon? Are you kidding me? They don't even
See,
fight.
I'm a world building guy. That's what I love out of my RPGs more than anything is world building, and that's what I love about games like that in the Pokemon series. It's like, well, what does Charmander do? When
No, in retrospect, I
when
really
no one's
liked it.
around.
But at the
You
time,
know?
at the time when I was like 11 or whatever, I was like really mad.
I grew up in a small town and we didn't have a Blockbuster. So I remember bringing my N64 cartridge with me on vacation and driving out to the Blockbuster there to print all of my photos.
That's awesome. And then they had Pokemon Stadium too, and I also got mad about that because that also looked like it was going to be a battle game, and it was just only using existing Pokemon, and there was no like story mode. I'm like, ugh, Nintendo. And then they never made a console Pokemon game until whatever they're doing on the Switch now. So.
Yeah, these 2-decade-old grudges are really aging surprisingly well.
I have not let this go. Clearly, I've written like many articles about this, like even in the last like 3 years.
Yeah, I just want to. I mean, you know, Pokemon Go is Pokemon Snap to a certain degree, but I want a real Pokemon Snap.
That was such a no-brainer with the Wii U. It was like
I know it was
the craziest thing that they didn't do that.
Oh, the Wii U.
Yeah.
How many times have you said that's such a no-brainer in reference to things that Nintendo either didn't
a
or
lot,
did do?
But then they keep doing like amazing stuff, so I look like an idiot. So I guess I should probably.
It's just funny, like
so Cloud saves would just be nice.
That would be nice. And do you know what? I dug in a little further to that update they did. You know, they have save transfers, but it's not just like you can copy your save to another one. It's a permanent transfer.
Well, they treat your data as if it's a physical object that like it can only be in one place at any given time.
Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they haven't like heard how data works. They're just living in like 2004.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what else is going on?
Well, we got. I've been playing a lot of Fortnite Battle Royale past couple.
Oh
days.
yeah.
Which I'm really enjoying. I feel like it's. And I, like you said in your post, Eric, I feel like I don't think Bluehole has a leg to stand on from a legal perspective, and they didn't invent Battle Royale, but it would be stupid to not call Fortnite a PUBG clone. It obviously is.
Yeah, a lot of people are mad at me for saying that because there are other games that came before PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but like, this copies specific things from that game. It's not like copying the concept. It's like, as soon as I realized that you fly in on a bus, which the bus is clever, but it's like it's so similar. I just couldn't believe how straight up copied it was.
Yeah, I mean, I could believe how straight up copied it was. It's a good concept, and I feel
it's a great concept.
I think this seems to be what Fortnite did, sort of as proof of concept and of getting it out there, and seeing if they can put 100 people on that map. And I'm really excited to see what happens when people just sort of take this as like a basic palette to work with and start pushing it out a little bit more. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do that PUBG is not necessarily.
I'm excited until we get like 12 or 13 copies of this, and then we start getting our own lawbreakers and.
You get 12 or 13 of them, and then everything goes wrong, and then
it's
one or two emerge, and you're
like,
now I've got great games.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's really room for so many different concepts here. Like I've had a few ideas. Like I think it'd be a great fantasy genre, like with magical stuff. I think that could be really cool. Or I think like a sci-fi themed one would be really good. I mean, there's just like a lot of room for this to be a cool concept in many different ways. That's kind of my disappointment with Fortnite was just that it was so similar and it didn't do enough different. Although I think the building stuff is fundamentally different, I just don't see much use for it really.
Yeah,
I don't know about you,
the game as much as maybe one would imagine it could, just because.
Yeah. Well, they got that out pretty quick. I mean,
oh yeah,
PUBG came out in like March or something. I mean, it's been like 8 or 7 months, something. I don't know, but that was pretty blatant, and I think they knew it was pretty blatant. But Bluehole was like the whole legal statement they came out with was very stupid, because even if
that was stupid,
if this was clearly kind of done in bad faith and kind of crappy, they don't have a case. Like they can't do anything, and yelling about it just makes them look bad. And like they feel threatened, which I'm sure they do to a certain extent.
If they didn't yell, I mean, they should feel threatened because it's threatening. But if they hadn't yelled about it, everyone would have been on their side.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of shitty. This is Epic, and this is they had advertised PUBG before. They had said, look at these great games people are making with Unreal, and it's not a great look to then go around and clone their game.
Yeah. See, now I think
do it, but it's not good.
If they had just made it a little different, like they could have still had a battle royale concept, but I really think that the dropping from the plane having an island map that's, you know, it's a different map, but it's so similar. Like, just if they had just done something unique with a few other areas of the game, it wouldn't have seemed like such a ripoff. Because I think people do need to clone the concept.
That's what they would say.
Yeah.
But for me,
That was just that's kind of like just shoehorning in something from the original game. Like, it is hilarious how disparate like Fortnite and Fortnite Battle Royale are. Like, they have very little in common, like conceptually at base. Like, it's not even like, oh, we're putting Battle Royale in Far Cry, because that would, you know, it's already kind of that theme.
Sure.
But like for Fortnite to do it was like, especially like, well, what does this have to do with the base game? Really? They're like, I don't know, let's keep the building stuff.
I think I love it when developers do that kind of thing. You know, just like to really look at your game to see what's possible. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But
this wasn't really a creative use of that tactic. This is like,
you know,
is it possible to do this really popular thing in our game? And how fast can we do it?
A highly successful use of that tactic, however.
No, it worked. It worked totally well.
Walking
it's
Dead
huge
one.
now.
Imagine a Walking Dead Battle Royale where when someone gets killed, they turn into a zombie.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
There's so many good Walking Dead games that aren't being made.
In general, we'll see that. We'll see, you know, AI opponents and that kind of thing. I mean, when you're already cramming 100 players onto your server, that's a lot. But like, if we get some NPCs in there, that could be really changed up.
It could be really cool. Yeah, there's so many opportunities for innovation, and I'm excited just because I think it's a really fun game mode that's different from, you know, the typical multiplayer games that we've been playing. And plus, you know, the original games in this sort of survival genre were very different, in that they were not nearly so casual and easy to get in and out of. Like, you know, people are like, well, there were games before PUBG, but they were not. I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't really get into any of them.
No, that's definitely my experience too. And I mean, that's where Fortnite really pushes it. Is that, like, for one thing, on a technical level, if I die, I'm playing another game within like 3 or 4 minutes, if not less, and that's very impressive and very successful.
I mean, probably faster than that. Like,
yeah, I think
you pretty much go zip
Which
into
one do you
another
like
one.
better? Do you like PUBG or do you like Fortnite?
It's really hard to say. I feel like I like Fortnite better. I'm gonna write something on this at some point once I play it just a little more. But so Fortnite's a quicker game, and I feel like you still get a lot of the stuff that I like about PUBG. You know, it's kind of like a low key horror game where you're hearing footsteps behind you and you're like freaking out, and you still get a lot of those same things, but you don't, not necessarily with sitting with your shotgun trained on the door for 20 minutes. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it runs pretty well. You know what I like about Fortnite is just that I play it on the PlayStation, and it just feels nice to like sit on the couch and play it. Whereas, you know, and I don't feel stressed out playing it either for whatever reason.
Because you're supposed.
I got to number 3 on my
eventually.
3rd try too. So
yeah, you're not. I've gotten in the top 10 a few times, and I think that's what's nice about it, is that that's why people respond, is that you can't win. You know. You can, but you're probably not going to win. And if you can't win, then all of a sudden you can relax about whether or not you're going to win, and you can just kind of.
Well, you're automatically beating like probably X like dozen people before
exactly.
you, so that alone can feel pretty good. Like, even if you're out at 40, 50, like, I don't know, you beat half the field. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and if you're out at like 97, then you just
you start over again.
You know?
So
yeah, and then, you know, if you're playing Call of Duty or something and you're just consistently getting second to last place, that's disheartening.
Stuck in a game going like 1 in 18 or something, like.
Yeah.
But you know what? I realized that the reason I do badly in games like Call of Duty is because of Activision's dirty, underhanded patent.
Oh, the matchmaking. Yes, that's
the matchmaking is the problem, not me.
Yeah, I always feel like if I'm in a match-made game and I lose like 4 times in a row, I'm like, this is not my fault anymore. This is someone else's fault.
That's been happening with Destiny a lot, where like I just keep getting thrown in Crucible or Iron Banner against just like full fire teams that are all people on a clan, all people on headsets. I'm like, what am I even supposed to do? Yeah. Like,
I remember they said that they had a problem with their matchmaking in the first weekend of trials, And oh man, but we like even though we were a clan obviously, so we'd go in and just get rolled, like not a single kill,
I mean,
just 5 times.
I was
in a
on
row.
both sides of that, where it's like I don't know if you read my article, but like I got carried by like one of the best Destiny PvP players and like on Earth, and it was just like I think our second game was the hardest, but then all the matchmaking for the other ones did not seem to take into account skill at all. Like our last couple games were we were just blowing other players away, and like we were looking up, like we were like googling these players like KDA ratios to see if they were like good, and they were all like under 1. I'm like, why are we matched with these people in like game 7 of our trials run? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing where like, it's the kind of thing it's so easy to say that it's not working, but like, seems like a pain to fix. I hope they can manage.
Well, and that's another advantage of PUBG and Fortnite, where it's 100 people. You are gonna have really good people. You're gonna have really bad people, and the best people are probably gonna end up winning. And there's some amount of luck involved, but it's never like, oh, all 99 people are just stomping me, because that like can't happen essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things I did a few times in PUBG is just wait till the end, wait till it kicks you out of the helicopter automatically, and just don't touch your keyboard, fall down. You can just like punch 5 people to death. they're gone. They've gone somewhere.
AFK. Oh, that's funny. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope more games copy it. I just hope they do it.
Oh, they will.
Better.
Oh, and I think that my guess is that Fortnite is going to start putting more of its own spin on it. Now, I think they basically said, this is a fun idea. Let's do it. Let's just get it up and running as quickly as possible, and that's what they did.
Get ready for Red Dead Royale. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think that this is a genre that would work really well as a free-to-play loot box centered thing. I mean, I can really see like buying like aesthetic customizations for your character in a game like this. Like it's a third person, and you see your character the whole time, and to skin them out and just make them your own, I could see people spending boatloads of
easily.
money.
Like they could even balance like a loot box store with like a true microtransaction store where it's like pay $20 and get this awesome jacket. Like people would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, it's the kind of thing you could even do a little pay to win. Pay $10 to start with a pistol. It's not going to. You could do
slippery slope.
But
it is a slippery slope.
It is very slippery slope, and
I think
really
people would
don't
be
know where to
mad.
get off on it. But there would be ways, I think.
I don't think you would need to. Like, I feel like there's enough cosmetic stuff you could do where you could just Overwatch it and like just exist solely on that. Because then I feel like also like Overwatch, if Overwatch started being like, oh, like have a 10% increased magazine size, like that would start unbalancing the game. So I feel like if you can get away with just cosmetics, I think you should, and just see how that goes.
But I think I'd like to see more from that point of view. Is social spaces are becoming a really big. Splatoon has one. Call of Duty's going to have one. I think NBA 2K18 has one. And you could do some fun stuff with that. You could Farmville it up. I'm always a big fan of that kind of stuff. Where like maybe you have you start the game in the lobby, which is this social space. You have a little apartment in there, and you can put some stuff in there.
Farming bullets.
Yeah.
Growing up sniper rifle crops and things.
Yeah, exactly. Just get
No, you really could like have your own little outpost.
No, that would be really cool. That's something Destiny really needs, is like an apartment, like a guardian house that you can deck out with trophies and guns.
I would lose my
I have been
mind
saying
if I
that
was a
for
guardian
years.
apartment. Yeah.
And like this is such a game about collecting stuff and like having like cool armor and weapons, and like the best DLC I ever played was the Skyrim Hearth whatever DLC, where you could build your own houses and like deck them out with like armor stands and weapon stands. Like that was the coolest stuff.
That kind of stuff always frustrates me because like I love that stuff in games, but by the time it came out in Skyrim, I had already Skyrim'd my Skyrim.
Well, yeah.
Like all I want to do is to start again and build my house, but I just didn't have it in me to start again.
It wouldn't even have to be like a build mechanic. It would just be like, this exists. You can display what you have. Like you can pay microtransactions to get more stuff if you want. That's all cosmetic. Like I feel like that's an avenue that's really being neglected by a lot of games, like Destiny included.
Yeah, which is funny because there have been times in video game history when that kind of thing has been so so heavily pushed. It's just not around at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think this sort of growing importance of this sort of lobby, social space, third person place, that's going to be the venue through which that kind of stuff returns.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think, the success of games where you do, like you said, Farmville, the success of mobile games in this way is pretty much a bellwether for what's going to happen in consoles and PC, I think. I mean, they've got to make money somehow, especially with games costing way too much to make these days. That's another brilliant thing about something like Fortnite or PUBG. They're a simple concept, and they aren't as expensive as, these huge AAA games, and they don't have to look really, really great, which is something more games need to do.
Yeah, I really wonder how much. I don't think Fortnite was a cheap game to make, but it's running off of Unreal, being made by the people that know Unreal better than anyone else. I'd imagine that they were able to get some very friendly production costs going on with that.
Definitely. I mean, and now they need to make money off of it.
Right.
But
not,
I'm
not
sure
as
they
much
will.
as you might have otherwise.
Right.
We'll just start dumping cosmetic loot boxes into it, and that'll be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it really would. I'd buy a bandana or whatever.
Yeah, and also not just like clothes and stuff. You could definitely have a game, and not that necessarily this game, but a game where you have a bunch of different heroes, like Overwatch. They wouldn't necessarily have different powers even. I mean, they could just look different or maybe move a little different. I don't know.
No, I think that's definitely true. You'd run into some issues with like who was the default and that kind of thing, but that would be a lot of ways around that. You could also reskin the guns. You could like turn the assault rifle into a duck or something like that. I'd be down with that.
Totally. Yeah, a duck would be awesome. Well, in Fortnite, in PUBG it would be weird, But
PUBG, I think, PUBG has that funny balance between absurdity and
that's true.
gritty realism. I think if I found someone shooting me with a duck in PUBG,
PUBG has like the Purge aesthetic, where just people wearing like wacky ass stuff to kill each other, and like I feel like you can take that pretty far.
Yeah. Oh yeah, clowns and. I never saw The Purge.
It's not good? Great. The concept is amazing. The execution is like so-so, but
yeah,
I'd say it gets better as the series goes on.
Do you guys see Blade Runner?
Yes, it's amazing.
Nah,
so amazing.
I'd love to.
You should. You should see it in the theater. It's really
getting out to the theater is a difficult proposition these days.
I believe it. It's always kind of hard, honestly. Like. I rarely go to the movies, but I went to this one and I was glad for it. But we got a new theater screen at our local theater. We only have one here, so. But it's got all reclining seats and like the Dolby Atmos. Like, oh man, it was nice. It was a good theater.
Waiters? Can you get?
There are not waiters in this one.
Really, that's really the next level.
I know that is.
Your seat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we actually already bought tickets for Star Wars at the Alamo Draft House down in Phoenix.
I need to do that. Yeah, forgetting to buy tickets.
And Alamo's great theater.
I saw Star Wars when I was in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
nice.
Fun. It was swamped. I feel like they had like 4 screens showing it. Huge one.
Wow.
It's cold too.
You know what I really love is the ability to buy and pick out your own seats ahead of time. Yeah. We just got that here, but that is
that has totally changed movie going because like
oh my god, it's so much better.
For the first couple of years that happened, like people just did not understand, and like every movie I went to, some people would be sitting in other people's seats, and the first 10 minutes of the movie would be everyone shuffling around. It's like this is not that difficult. Like, please figure it out.
I just feel like I was thinking about this the other day, and someone was talking about like what movies define you on Twitter or something. I feel like my taste has so gone over towards TV length stories, which are both shorter and longer.
And easier to consume.
Yeah, I feel like I spend a lot more time with that kind of stuff than I do with the 1.5 to 3 hour format.
Well, it's definitely more accessible, and also the reward is that you have multiple seasons of following characters and stories that you enjoy, hopefully. The flip side of that is, you know, stuff like the CW, which has 23 episodes for each of their fucking shows, and it just takes for you just
You
I
read
can't
my
even
article.
fucking do it anymore. Yeah. Your article is
191
on
hours of
the spot.
CW superhero
It's just too
shows.
much, you know.
Yeah, I think I made it like 2/3 of the way through Smallville, but man, it just kept going.
10 seasons.
Yeah, I never watched that actually.
That is a lot of seasons. It's pretty fun in the early seasons. You know, Clark lives here in Smallville, and as it turns out, there is just a shitload of kryptonite in Smallville, which really would be a really boring show if it wasn't for that fun coincidence.
You know what we need more of is miniseries. You know, like
Yeah, definitely.
like the first season of True Detective. You know, just 8 episodes, done. You know,
Well,
they
I
never
feel
should have
like
made a
Netflix
second
is so
season.
well
of that.
geared to that kind of thing, and they keep on insisting on making season 2s where none necessarily need to exist. Like, do you see
Yeah.
Bloodline? Bloodline was
No.
awesome, and then they made another season. So what are we doing here?
And at this point, the podcast kind of devolves into technical difficulties. I could no longer hear Paul or Dave; they could hear each other, but I stopped the recording anyways. And you know, it's okay. We'd gone long enough. We'd started rambling and, you know, practically delirious at that point. Let me know, you know, or let us know what you think of the show lately. We've been trying to produce a lot more content. These last ones have been kind of longer. I hope you enjoy the longer length episodes as well. And I've been trying to include gameplay footage with everything, even if we're talking about TV. Because you can't, you know, if I put like TV footage, it's probably going to get, I'm going to get some sort of, you know, takedown or demonetization or something. For this one, I put Cuphead gameplay. I just played Cuphead for the first time. This is, you know, my first go at it, and it's really fun. It's a great game. I just love the art style so much. I can barely stand it. And the music is fantastic, and it's very challenging, but it's fair. You know, every boss you fight, you know, they have a pattern, an evolving pattern, and you just have to keep on keeping on. I mean, some of these fights took me a long time. But each time I feel like I got a little better, and I feel like, you know, I'm going to keep getting better as I go. So I'm really excited about this game. So anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.